What's going on, LubeTube? John Grows here. How the hell are you doing? Like I said, I was going to build an earth box. I'm going to give you a little update on that. Also, I'd like to thank people who are using my code at Coastal Mary Seeds. Just remember, use my code John Grows, all one word. It'll save yourself 20% off. Also, I'd like to welcome all the new subscribers. And like I said, when I hit 420, I'm going to do a seed giveaway. So without further ado, I'm going to get into this video real quick. Show you step by step on how I built this earth box. You know what I'm saying? Peace. All right, guys. Now, this is the box from Home Depot that I got. 17 gallons. I'm going to show you a close-up picture. 17 gallons. I went for the smaller one, make it easier for myself to try and make this earth box because I've never done this. I've always wanted to try it, you know, do it for 20 bucks because that's roughly what it cost. But that's what it cost me to make this one box. Now, this is the paint that I'm using because I wanted to paint the box because it is black. You know, I wanted to make not attract so much heat, so I painted it with like a tannish color. Because if you look at the earth boxes, they're pretty much a little bit darker, I think. But here they are. It's painted up, you know, decent. I added a couple extra more coats to this. Let it sit outside in the heat, dry before I started messing around with it while it was still tacky or wet. So just spray it or do it and then spray it, however you want to try and do it. I sprayed mine first and just, you know, did some errands and came back and it was pretty much dry for that. I also had pucks that I bought, but I think I'm going to use PCP piping because it's much easier. I used a little bit of both, hockey pucks that I drilled holes through and PVC piping that scraps that I was cutting while I was doing this box. In this box, for making this box, I used a step bit, a circular saw, and I used a jigsaw. Oh, I also a hole punch. Now, right here is a couple of holes I did for the soil. You know, you have PCV pipes. You know, probably I have it 3 inches up off the bottom. So I have PCV pipes that are 3 inches, maybe a little bit taller than maybe 3.5 inches. So that's the 2 holes that I used to put the soil inside the PVC piping to help wick up the moisture or the water that's in the bottom of the tank. Now I used a step bit and I drilled all these holes on the top of the cover because that's going to be your bottom where the soil rests on. I put the hockey pucks underneath that, put zip ties through the holes, and then that's how I have it stable. You know, like I said, it's 3 inches up from the bottom of the tote. But I used a step bit to drill all these holes. It doesn't matter how many holes you put. Like, see, here's another angle of that. It doesn't matter how many holes you put. Do whatever you want with this. This is your creation. You know what I mean? Nothing's written in stone. The first one that I built was a little rough, I have to admit. But I think the next one that I do build, it's going to be a lot easier to build. But yeah, I just used a step bit. I drilled all these holes, and it's perfect the way the grooves of this cover of this tote are because you just follow the grooves. It was perfect for that, actually. Yeah, it wasn't hard at all. But these are the where you're gonna put the soil. So I put holes on the bottom so the water can wick up into the soil. Now, when you put your soil in these things, you want to pack them down. So when you do put water in it, it doesn't wash away the soil that you have in that PVC pipe. Because that top of that should be right where the soil is going to rest on the top of that tote cover. because the top of that toe cover now is going to be where the soil will be placed on. So I drilled all step bits. Now that's the filler tube. Again, I put holes in the bottom of that, obviously, because you want the water to go in. And there's probably, like I said, there's 3 inches, you know what I mean, of space. So that's basically holding 3 inches of water. So I don't know, it was probably a few gallons maybe. I put a hole in the side of the tote that you will see. That once it reaches the top, it'll start leaking out. So you know it's full. But that's why I did with those. Those are just a step bit. See, and there it is right there. That's the top of the cover is now the floor, or the bottom, where you rest the soil on top of. And the PVC pipes that are closest to the side that's where you want to put your soil. But like I said, you want to pack it in there good. So when you do put water in there, it doesn't get washed out. And I put holes all the way around the bottom of that PVC pipe. In fact, I put holes in the bottom. Well, no, not the filler. I only put like 3 or 4 holes on that because, you know, obviously all you're doing with that is just filling it. But it was really easy, you know what I mean? But there's the hole that I was telling you. It's about 3 inches up. So when the water is full, it'll start leaking out. If you notice, if you look at the earth boxes that you buy, they run the same way. Once you fill it all the way to where it should be, it'll start leaking out the side. So that's how I run. That's how I built this one. It's really easy. If you're into crafts, you know what I mean, or you're good with your hands, you can build this. Like I said, the second one's going to... Oh, there it is right there. Now that's the main fill tube. You know what I mean? I use Fox Farm Ocean Forest. And yeah, if you are good with tools, or you're good with your hands, or you just want to try it, you basically need jigsaw, hole punches, step bit. Oh, look at those roots on that tomato plant. I have a circular saw, but you can use a regular saw or whatever you need to do to cut the PVC pipe. But if you can do, you know what I mean, you're crafty, or you're willing to do something and try it, it wasn't that hard, actually. You know what I mean? It was actually kind of easy. That's a nice root ball in that tomato plant right there. So we'll see if this works, but if you have any questions, definitely leave some comments down in the comment section, and I'll be sure to help you. You know what I mean? Because this is just trying to save you a buck, you know, because some of those earth boxes could range like $100, which is rather expensive, you know what I mean? But I got 4 plants in there. See how it works. You know, I think it'll do pretty good. But like I said, I use Fox Farm. I'm going to build one for our special plant. You know what I mean? That's what I'm going to try and do. And I know, like, what I got to do now, I know the second one's going to be a lot easier. But if you have any questions, leave some comments down in the comment section. Peace.